Imagine the suffocating darkness of a lower hive level, or the echoing, frost-choked corridors of a derelict space hull. You are a guardsman on patrol, your laskin heavy in your trembling hands. The shadows here seem to breathe. Suddenly, there is a violent motion blur. A shape detaches from the darkness too fast to track, too multi-limbed to be human. It doesn't tear your throat out. Instead, there is a sudden, sharp pressure against your neck or exposed arm. A momentary sting, and then the creature is gone, slithering back into the abyss as if it were never there. You are left gasping, adrenaline flooding your veins. You survive. But in the grim darkness of the far future, survival is often just the prelude to a far more insidious horror. Welcome back to the Silent Imperium, traveler. If you seek to decode the darkest truths of the Warhammer 40K universe, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. We uncover the lore that the Inquisition once buried. Now, let us return to the shadows and to the horrific reality of what that momentary sting truly means. You report the incident to your commanding officer, or perhaps you visit the Medicae station. They find a small puncture wound, barely bleeding. It looks like a minor laceration from a jagged piece of plasteel, or perhaps the bite of a common underhive rat. They clean the wound, apply a basic synthetic patch, and send you back to your duties. You feel fine. In fact, as the days pass, you might even feel a strange, bubbling sense of vitality. You genuinely believe you are lucky to have escaped with your life. But you did not escape. What you experienced was not a failed attack, but a perfectly executed Genestealer Kiss. The creature did not want your meat, it wanted your genetic legacy. In that split second, it utilized a microscopic ovipositor, injecting a highly aggressive, mutagenic payload directly into your bloodstream. Your physical body is still yours, but your DNA is currently being violently rewritten. The horrifying truth is that your life, as you knew it, ended in that dark corridor. You are now the unwitting architect of your world's destruction. To understand the true nightmare of your condition, we must first decode the creature that infected you. The Purestrain Genestealer is not merely a mindless beast of the Tyranid swarm. It is an apex vanguard organism, a biological infiltrator designed with terrifying, singular purpose. They arrived centuries before the Great Devourer, slipping onto human worlds stowed away in the dark bellies of cargo freighters or the twisted corridors of drifting space hulks. And like the disposable, shrieking gaunts that will eventually darken your planet's skies, a Genestealer operates with chilling autonomy. In this embryonic stage of planetary invasion, it is completely severed from the direct command of the overarching hive mind. It acts as an independent agent of doom, relying on its own predatory cunning and an ancient, encoded directive to multiply, to subvert, and to prepare the table for a feast of galactic proportions. Imperial citizens often speak in hushed, superstitious whispers of the Genestealer Kiss. The phrase itself is a cruel, poetic irony. It evokes notions of dark romance, of a willing pact made in the shadows. But the reality is entirely clinical, cold, and devoid of emotion. The kiss is the violent insertion of a specialized, rigged ovipositor concealed within the creature's maw. It is a calculated surgical strike designed to breach your biological defenses. Through this fleshy, needle-like tube, the creature delivers its profane payload. It does not lay physical eggs, like some parasitic insect of ancient terror. Instead, it injects a highly concentrated slurry of xenogenetic material, an aggressive mutagen that is utterly alien to this galaxy. This is a targeted biological hijack. The Tyranid genetic code immediately interfaces with your own, unraveling your human DNA and seamlessly weaving its terrifying sequences into your fundamental building blocks. Consider this: the ultimate horror of the Genestealer Kiss lies in the total silence of the invasion. Your body's immune system, normally so vigilant against infections and foreign toxins, does not fight the alien mutagen. Instead, it is immediately subjugated, tricked into accepting the Tyranid blueprint as its natural state. You feel no fever. You suffer no physical rot. The transformation is entirely invisible to the naked eye. You still look human, but biologically, you have already been claimed by the swarm. As your cells rapidly replicate with this new, corrupted code, the changes inevitably seep from your physical form into your consciousness. The Genestealer does not just alter your genetics, it subtly rewires your soul. It lays the invisible groundwork for a psychic tether, a strange and allying frequency that begins to hum at the edges of your perception. You are no longer entirely alone in your own head. The curse has taken root, and the long, generational nightmare has begun. The superficial wound heals within hours, leaving barely a scar on your grim-stained flesh. Yet beneath your skin, an unseen, microscopic war has already been definitively lost. The Tyranid mutagen aggressively dismantled your human cellular structures, acting as a relentless biological conqueror. It does not merely destroy, it meticulously repurposes. Your cells are violently hijacked, transformed into microscopic manufacturums that pump out alien proteins, systematically rewriting your fundamental genetic architecture while you sleep. This creeping corruption swiftly travels through your bloodstream, breaching the blood-brain barrier with a terrifying, calculated ease. Once inside the fragile sanctum of your brain, the mutagen begins to systematically rewire your neural pathways. It heavily targets the delicate centers of memory, emotion, and loyalty. The physical invasion is accompanied by a psychic dampening effect, subtly adjusting your brain waves to an alien frequency that imperial medical science cannot easily detect or comprehend. The true horror of this process is precisely what it does to your memories. You do not remember the multi-limb, chitinous monster lurking in the suffocating shadows of the Underhive. That terrifying reality is violently repressed, buried deep by your newly altered brain chemistry. In its place, a brilliant, false memory is seamlessly implanted. You recall a moment of profound, divine revelation, a sacred communion in the dark with an incandescent angel of the Emperor. Following this meticulously fabricated revelation, you are suddenly flooded with an unprecedented sense of profound peace. The crushing despair of daily life in the Imperium fades entirely into the background. The grueling, lung-burning shifts in the manufacturing, the stale recycled air, the constant, gnawing hunger, they simply no longer matter to you. They are completely replaced by an intoxicating, artificial euphoria. Your hijacked biology convinces your conscious mind that you have been chosen for a glorious, higher purpose. Consider this crucial, cruelest paradox of the Genestealer infection. While you vividly experience the profound warmth of a spiritual awakening, your physical form merely executing a cold, mechanical imperative. The Tyranid vanguard feels absolutely nothing for you. Your overwhelming joy, your newfound sense of cosmic belonging, is nothing more than a chemical leash forged by an unfathomable alien intelligence. Your very soul, your capacity for faith, has been perfectly weaponized against you. With your conscious mind entirely subdued by this false euphoria, the underlying biological imperative takes absolute command. The primal urge to pass on your newfound blessing becomes an overwhelming, sacred duty that consumes your thoughts. You are fundamentally compelled to procreate, to aggressively spread the divine gift you truly believe you have received. You actively seek out a mate, and knowingly guided by subtle, alien pheromones that your altered biology now secretes into the stagnant hive air. As you navigate this terrifying loss of humanity, completely unaware of your own biological damnation, remember that you are not alone in the dark. If this deep dive into the insidious biology of the Tyranid swarm fascinates you, do not face the grim darkness without an ally. Subscribe to the Silent Imperium and join our ranks. We decode the most terrifying lore of Warhammer 40K, bringing the truth to light. Now, let us examine the sinister psychic network that binds the infected together. As your corrupted genetic code finally stabilizes, a dormant, terrifying sense violently awakens within your mind. You begin to faintly perceive the presence of others who share your dark blessing. A subtle, psychic hum at the very edge of your consciousness links you directly to the alpha organism, the Patriarch, and to all the other infected souls hidden within the city. This is the silent, horrifying birth of the Broodmind within you, through the suffocating embrace of the Broodmind. The last lingering vestiges of your true individuality are quietly, efficiently erased. Your personal ambitions, your inherent human fears, and your old, stubborn loyalties are all entirely subsumed into the collective will of the growing cult. You genuinely believe this absolute conformity is a beautiful, harmonious unity, a brotherhood unlike anything the brutal Imperium could ever offer. In stark truth, it is the silent, absolute death of your free will. This insidious psychic network also provides the ultimate, impenetrable camouflage against the Inquisition. You might even continue to pray fervently in the local cathedral, but in your mind's eye, the Emperor you now worship possesses forending arms. The insidious nature of the Broodmind flawlessly shields your heresy, cloaking your twisted faith from the immediate scrutiny of unsanctioned psychers. Every profound feeling of familial love you experience towards your new, mutated brethren is a complete, biological lie. It is a highly calculated, algorithmic response designed solely to ensure the survival and aggressive expansion of the cult. The Tyranid superorganism does not comprehend the concepts of love, loyalty, or faith. It only understands rapid, unchecked expansion, the efficient consumption of resources, and the absolute, unthinking obedience of its countless infected vectors. You are now completely trapped, a fleshy meat puppet dancing on invisible strings woven directly from your own altered DNA. The most tragic irony of the Genestealer cult is that you will violently, joyfully defend your own enslavement with your dying breath. The biological hijacking is so utterly flawless, so absolute in its execution, that the very concept of rebellion against the Patriarch is literally impossible for your fundamentally altered brain to process. You have been successfully converted into a highly loyal, perfectly camouflaged asset for the impending, world-ending invasion. You feel utterly complete, entirely purposeful, and deeply loved by your strange new family in the shadows. But the true nightmare is not simply what you have become in the dark. The true and varnished nightmare is what you are now biologically compelled to create in the generations to come. The curse is no longer just yours, it belongs to your bloodline. The immediate aftermath of your biological imperative is the birth of the next generation. To any uncorrupted observer, the infant is a nightmare made flesh, a grotesque, squirming hybrid of human frailty and alien malice. But to you, the infected parent, the child is an absolute vision of divine perfection. The Broodmind flawlessly distorts your perception, ensuring that you view this chitinous abomination with an overwhelming, unconditional love that defies all human reason. This first generation, coldly classified in the forbidden archives of the Ordo Xenos as the Grimdark, is a terrifying amalgamation of two warring species. They often possess 3 or even 4 limbs, bulbous, distended craniums, and razor-sharp, rending claws carefully hidden beneath heavy, oversized imperial rags. They are creatures relegated to the deepest shadows, forced by their monstrous anatomy to hide in the toxic, stinking sumps of the Underhive where the Emperor's light cannot reach. Yet, despite their horrific appearance, the bond between you and your child is utterly unbreakable. It is a bond forged not in the natural warmth of human affection, but in the cold and yielding iron of the Tyranid genetic imperative. You look upon these multi-limbed horrors with a fierce, deeply protective pride. You will gladly murder your old neighbors, your former friends, even heavily armed Adeptus Arbites officers just to keep your offspring safe. As decades bleed away in the suffocating darkness of the lower levels, the cult rapidly multiplies. The first generation breeds, giving rise to the second, the Malignochi. These creatures are hunched, twisted things, their bodies warping under the strain of alien DNA. Crucially, they possess a rudimentary, powerful psychic resonance that drastically strengthens the local Broodmind. They become the brutal shock troops of the shadows, combining human cunning with savage Tyranid strength. With each subsequent cycle of birth in the dark, the terrifying genius of the Tyranid evolutionary design becomes unmistakably apparent. The grotesque, telltale mutations begin to strategically recede. By the third and fourth generations, the beings known as neophytes, the hybrids, look almost entirely human. They lose the extra limbs, the heavy cranial ridges, and the visible chitin. Though distinctly pale and totally hairless, they can easily pass as regular, malnourished imperial citizens. This is the exact moment where the true, existential threat to the Imperium blossoms into a lethal flower. These late-generation neophytes do not cower in the toxic sumps. They actively integrate into the world above. They enthusiastically join the local planetary defense force. They become low-level, invisible clerks in the administratum. Some even manage to infiltrate the hardened ranks of the local enforcers or the sprawling hierarchy of the ecclesiarchy. Imagine the sheer, terrifying reality of this generational infiltration. The loyal soldier diligently guarding the precinct army, the skilled medicae tending to the sick, the pious priest fervently preaching the Emperor's word. They are all secretly, inextricably bound to the will of the Broodmind. They smile at you, they share your meager rations, yet every subtle action they take is a calculated step toward the total annihilation of your world. This twisted family tree is a flawless masterpiece of biological warfare. It perfectly weaponizes the fundamental human instinct to nurture, to build a community, and to leave a lasting legacy. The cultists genuinely believe they are building a beautiful, unified future for their children, entirely ignorant of the fact that they are merely fattening the calf for the slaughter. Their profound love is the very instrument of their doom. It is a common mistake for Imperial scholars to view the Genestealer cults merely as terrified thralls subjected to brutal, agonizing mind control. It is not a screaming torture chamber of psychic domination. Rather, it is a terrifyingly warm, suffocating embrace. The cult masterfully offers exactly what the decaying Imperium perpetually denies its citizens: a genuine sense of purpose, shared resources, and an unbreakable, familial unity. The true horror of this subversion lies precisely in its manufactured gentleness. You, the heavily infected founder of your bloodline, or your later neophyte descendants, do not serve this shadow cause out of terror. To your altered perception, the monstrous Genestealer patriarch is not a hideous, chitinous tyrant lurking in the dark. He is perceived as a deeply loving grandfather, a tangible, physical savior deity who walks among his devoted flock. The insidious Broodmind seamlessly translates the Tyranid hive mind's cold, infinite hunger into a warm, harmonious chorus of profound belonging. Consider the sheer, tragic contrast of your daily existence under this influence. The brutal Imperium works you to the bone for a distant, eternally silent emperor who demands only your blood and sweat. The cult, however, works closely alongside you, intimately shares your heavy burdens, and promises an immediate, tangible salvation from the darkness. This is the profound illusion of loyalty, a complex biological algorithm flawlessly mimicking perfect empathy and divine grace to secure your absolute, unquestioning devotion to a puritanical inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos. You are nothing but a vile traitor, a wretched heretic utterly corrupted by unspeakable Xenos filth. But inside the sealed vault of your own mind, You are the ultimate patriot fighting for a far better reality. You are valiantly defending your beloved family, uplifting your oppressed community, and eagerly preparing the way for the glorious, prophesied rival of the Star Children. The ultimate tragedy is that your most noble intentions are merely chemical reactions dictated by an alien parasite. This carefully cultivated illusion of loyalty is so perfectly constructed that you will gladly walk into a heavy bolter's firing line with a serene, triumphant smile on your face. You are not a shambling, mindless zombie driven by a crude necrovirus. You are a deeply passionate, fiercely willing martyr. The Tyranid superorganism has effectively hacked the human soul, turning our greatest, most beautiful strengths, our capacity for love, our unwavering faith, and our willingness to sacrifice into the very mechanisms of our own inevitable extinction. As the cult swells in numbers and integrates deeply into the Imperial Society, its operational mandate fundamentally shifts. It evolves from a desperate, localized struggle for survival in the toxic Hive into a highly coordinated, planet-wide campaign of quiet subversion. The Genestealer cult functions much like a malignant, highly intelligent tumor, slowly extending its invisible tendrils into the vital, throbbing arteries of the Hive City's infrastructure. It is a war of 1,000 tiny, unnoticed cuts, fought not with roaring chainswords, but with altered shipping manifests and strategically misplaced patrol schedules. To manage this sprawling, complex insurgency, the Broodmind cultivates specialized, highly evolved leaders. The fourth generation gives rise to the Magus, a terrifyingly charismatic, psychic demagogue who serves as the public, human passing face of the cult. Alongside them is the Primus, a brilliantly ruthless, tactical mastermind genetically engineered to coordinate the cult's clandestine military assets. Under their unified, telepathic command, the disparate, sprawling broods are forged into a highly disciplined, fanatical shadow army. They are the perfect, cold-blooded generals for a war the Imperium doesn't even realize it is fighting. The true terror of the cult's life cycle is found in its profound, terrifying patience. They do not launch premature, suicidal uprisings that would be quickly crushed by the Adeptus Arbites. Instead, they engage in decades, sometimes centuries, of meticulous, agonizingly slow sabotage. Essential maintenance on the city's void shields is subtly delayed. Critical shipments of heavy loss weaponry intended for the planetary defense force are quietly rerouted to hidden, subterranean vaults. The very foundations of the Imperial defense grid are systematically hollowed out from the inside, leaving only a fragile, useless shell. Consider the sheer, terrifying scale of this unseen economic and structural drain. Entire generations of laborers, completely enthralled by the Broodmind, willingly tithe their meager rations, their stolen equipment, and their very lifeblood to the cult's secret armories. The Patriarch, grown massive and grotesque in the deep dark, sits upon a stolen throne of industrial wealth. To the oblivious planetary governor, the Hive City's minor bureaucratic errors and slight drops in manufacturing quotas are just standard Imperial inefficiency. They have no idea the city is already dead. Yet, for all their meticulous planning and accumulated power, the cult's ultimate purpose is not simply to conquer the planet for themselves. They are entirely bound to a much grander, far more terrifying cosmic schedule. As the cult reaches its zenith of planetary influence, a profound, agonizing psychic tension begins to build within the Broodmind. It is the overwhelming, instinctual urge to cry out into the dark abyss of space, an irresistible biological imperative demanding to be unleashed. The time for hiding in the shadows is rapidly drawing to a close. Guided by the massive, swollen brain of the Patriarch and the refined psychic choir of the Magus, the cult unleashes its ultimate weapon. It is not a nuclear warhead, but a psychic beacon, a concentrated, screaming chorus of billions of altered souls projecting a blinding light into the warp. Their psychic flare is entirely invisible to human augurs, but to the drifting tendrils of the Tyranid Hive fleet, it is an irresistible dinner bell. The Star Children have finally heard the faithful prayers of their devoted, mutated flock. When the shadow of the Great Devourer finally falls across the system, the cult initiates the day of ascension. The flawless, decades-long illusion of loyalty shatters in an instant. Across every level of the Hive, from the sprawling, aristocratic spires to the deepest, most toxic sumps, the sleeper cells violently awaken. PDF troopers turn their heavy weapons on their own commanding officers. Medical staff slaughter their vulnerable patients. The Imperium realizes they're under attack only after the planet has already been definitively, irrevocably lost from within. As the choked skies of the Hive world darken with the bloated, fleshy silhouettes of Tyranid bioships, the promised day of ascension reaches its terrifying, inevitable climax. Millions of devoted cultists, from the lowest under Hive sumps to the shattered upper spires, look up with tears of absolute joy streaming down their ash-stained faces. They throw down their stolen autoguns and heavily modified mining lasers, eagerly opening their arms to welcome the descending angels of the void. They genuinely believe their countless generations of agonizing suffering, quiet sacrifice, and unbreakable loyalty are finally about to be rewarded with cosmic salvation. But the Great Devourer does not recognize faith, nor does it comprehend the concept of loyalty. As the first wave of Tyranid warrior organisms touches down upon the war-torn surface, the horrifying and varnished reality of the Star Children is finally revealed in all its brutality. A shrieking Hormagaunt does not gently embrace a loyal, weeping follower. It violently sits them in half without a single moment of hesitation. The overarching Hive fleet does not see a devout congregation of beloved children. It only sees a densely packed, highly convenient concentration of raw, harvestable biomass waiting to be consumed. In this apocalyptic moment of slaughter, the comforting, suffocating warmth of the Broodmind suddenly and violently collapses. The massive Genestealer Patriarch, previously perceived by the cult as a deeply loving, benevolent grandfather deity, is instantly subsumed by the overwhelming, dictatorial will of the true Hive mind. It immediately loses all of its terrifying individuality, reverting back to a feral, unthinking vanguard beast of the endless swarm. The beautiful, orchestrated psychic symphony of familial love is instantly replaced by an infinite, crushing static of pure, unfathomable alien hunger. Consider the sheer, unimaginable psychological torment of this sudden psychic severing. As the Broodmind's flawless illusion shatters like fragile glass, the lifelong chemical leash is completely, violently snapped. For the first time in generations, the infected cultists violently regain their true human perspective and unclouded cognitive function. In their final, agonizing moments of life, they look at their beloved, multi-limbed children and finally see them for the abhorrent, kindness, alien monsters they truly are. The blissful, lifelong dream of cosmic unity instantly becomes a waking, visceral nightmare of self-realization. The ultimate betrayal of the Genestealer Kiss is absolute, biological, and utterly unyielding. The surviving cultists are not elevated to a higher plane of existence, nor do they join the angels in the stars. Instead, standing side by side with the screaming Imperial defenders they just betrayed, they are ruthlessly herded by the swarm into massive, bubbling digestion pools. Their human flesh, their fractured memories, and their profound, utterly misguided faith are all agonizingly melted down into a screaming, nutrient-rich slurry. The ultimate reward for their absolute devotion is to become mere fuel for the next doomed world. In the grim darkness of the far future, there are countless, agonizing ways to meet your end. You can be instantly incinerated by chaotic plasma fire, brutally crushed beneath the iron boot of an orc warboss, or have your soul meticulously ripped apart by the screaming denizens of the warp. But the Genestealer Kiss is fundamentally, philosophically different. It is not merely a violent assassination of the flesh. It is a flawless, biological assassination of the human soul. It takes the purest, most beautiful elements of humanity, our inherent need for a profound connection, our fierce, unconditional love for our children, our unyielding faith in a higher power, and twists them into the very instruments of our own inevitable extinction. To be physically hunted and torn apart by a towering Tyranid Hive Tyrant is a terrifying, brutally straightforward end. But to be silently infected by a Genestealer in the dark is a profound, cosmic tragedy. You are biologically forced to actively participate in the meticulous murder of your own world. Deeply and genuinely convinced that you are performing a divine miracle, you ultimately die not as a defiant, glorious martyr of the Imperium, but as betrayed, utterly confused biomass, screaming in the digestion pools as your false, chitinous gods consume you alive. That, truly, is a fate far worse than death. Thank you for venturing into the suffocating shadows with us today. If you survived this harrowing, deeply unsettling descent into the grimdark reality of the Genestealer Cults, hit the like button, subscribe to the Silent Imperium, and let us know in the comments below which nightmare of the Warhammer 40K universe we should definitively decode next. Until then, beware the unseen shadows and trust no one. The Emperor protects.